That's exactly what he said,
And
right?
well, yeah, and even what you just said there, the results. There are no results. It is what it is because God's already determined it.
Well,
So
the
there really
fact
are
that
no results.
the fact that he predetermined it is beside the point. By God is glorified before men and the angels by the results. Now, the thing of it is, you got to believe that your inkling to go out in evangelism is also predetermined by God.
The results are.
Well, okay.
Either way, it's
Now, what I'm saying here is I take from direct readings of what these people say.
Okay.
Okay?
So everything that they say in and of itself is an outright contradiction. Every single statement that he's made there is a contradiction by definition according to their theology.
Logically, and, if I may,
As soon as they appeal to themselves doing anything, they contradicted their own doctrine. The whole thing's meaningless.
That's why I'm standing up here mostly speechless, because I'm like, for real? How can you ever ascribe to yourself importance? How? How can you claim for yourself importance under this body of doctrine? All right, Paul's going to read something here for us.
are you ready for this?
Yeah, go ahead.
The Tower of Babel, Genesis 11. Okay? Now the whole earth had one language and the same words. And as people migrated from the east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there. And they said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and burn them thoroughly." And they had a brick for stone and bitumen for mortar. Then they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be dispersed over the face of the earth." And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of man had built. And the Lord said, "Behold," listen carefully, "behold, they are one people, and they have all one language. And this is only the beginning of what they will do. And nothing that they propose to do will now be impossible for them." Do you see the contradiction there? God intervenes here because he's saying that man has almost unlimited ability. Okay? And if we don't confuse the language, what they'll be able to do as one group is pretty much unlimited and stuff we don't want them doing. So I'm going to intervene. Okay? You have God here saying that man is quite capable. No? Okay? As opposed to total depravity, unwilling and unable. Okay? And what he called later on in the sermon, total inability.
Yes.
Total inability. Okay, so we have a God, and you could go on and on and on. We have a God. It's perfectly all right that we choose ice cream flavor, the color of our car. We can choose anything, our wives. We can choose anything and everything in our lives. But the one thing God deprives us of an ability to choose is Him.
Well, I think there is a true irony in the profound conceit, is that he insists, against the very essence of his doctrine, that the men he is talking to are important,
Right.
while trivializing the very people that made it possible for him to actually get to the conference. I bet money that the airplane he flew on was owned by a corporation, and the baggage handlers were employed by a corporation. And his rental car company was a corporation. And the plexiglass podium holding up his Bible was manufactured by a corporation. And yet, somehow, the life pursuit of these people providing goods and services for compensation by other people who agree that their goods and services have value is somehow beneath real consideration.
Not to mention the people that go to his church that pay his salary.
Yeah, the people that go to his church, that pay his salary, that actually go out and do meaningful work so he can stand up behind a plexiglass podium and tell them how trivial they really are. And, you know, just one last
And if this is true, pray tell, why does the laity go out and work like dogs to pay the salary of a man who sees them in this way?
I feel like a
Tell
soccer
me that
player.
that is not insanity.
I feel like a soccer player standing on the field looking for a foul with somebody giving me a yellow card. I'm like this all the time. Yeah, exactly. How do you, as a layperson who goes out and busts your butt at a real job, 40, 60, whatever hours a week, so you can make money to give this man 10%, to turn around and tell you how truly irrelevant your job is? Are you serious? You tolerate this? And here's the other thing that I think is just part of this madness. I am 99% sure that SGM is a corporation. And I would bet that every preacher up on that stage, and I have no idea who was there, but I would bet every preacher up on that stage holds their ministry as a legal corporate entity.
Hella, I want to add one more thing. Let's think about another thing. If you want to be one of these men that he's talking about, if you want to be, hey, that sounds pretty good. The almighty John MacArthur sees pastors in this way as the most important people on the earth. So, sir, do you want to be one of those men? Yes. Then all you got to do is have enough money to go to his seminary and get a master's degree in their orthodoxy.
But wait a
That's
minute.
all it takes.
Wait a minute. Didn't he say that they don't run universities? Yeah, they don't run nations. They don't run institutions. They don't run corporations, and they don't run universities. Are you telling me that John MacArthur has a seminary in his ministry?
Right, oh yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
pointing out-
master's seminary.
I'm pointing out the irony, the
Right.
entire disconnect between what this man is saying and what this
It's
represents.
insanity.
All right, but whatever. My blood pressure's starting to spike on this. So, see, far too many people are on the sidelines, and you're tolerating this madness coming out of the New Calvinist pulpits. Far too many people act as if they are merely. This is all merely academic quibbling. Far too many people sit around and wring their hands. Far too many people wail and moan on blogs giving cyber hugs. Far too many people continue to appease those people advancing evil doctrines. And this is why I have decided to call you out. Now, it's a little hard for me to look at the people actually watching here because I know they're doing the work. So on some level, actually pretty much on every level, I'm talking to people online. You have got to stop appeasing these people. You have got to stop apologizing for your own achievements. You've got to stop hiding your own virtues. You've got to stop deriding your own values. And you've got to stop debasing your own character. When they ask you to do these things in the name of righteousness, it has one purpose: to appease the original sin preachers and to have one ultimate goal, and that is to rule the world in the name of God. Do not doubt me here. Their purpose and their intent is to take over government exactly like the Puritans did in Puritan England. But here's the dirty little secret that they never want you to understand. These men can only survive in a climate of appeasement and rational subordination. I will give an example of a man that I happen to be at least from a parishioner perspective, of whom I'm aware. Men like C.J. Mahaney are the profiteers on the bankruptcy of intellectual appeasement. Men like C.J. can only thrive in an environment filled with weakness, uncertainty, self-doubt, and terror. He can only worm his way into intellectual leadership by passing off virtues as vice and turning vices into the highest moral achievement. The hallmark of such men is that they surround themselves with mediocrity, all the while pretending to surround themselves with the elite. And God help you if you ever challenge the mediocrity. I speak from experience. I want you to notice, as you observe these men, how they react to real achievement. Notice John MacArthur's denigration of those who run institutions and countries and universities, that it's somehow beneath their consideration. Notice how the New Calvinists thrive on making men small. Indeed, the hallmark of success in these circles is the race to see who can be the smallest, the humblest, the most self-deprecating. But do not be deceived. This is all theological fraud. It's a mask that they wear to cover their hideous souls. And here's how you rip off the mask. The moment they self-deprecate or self-abdicate, the moment they pay homage to inability or stupidity or moral corruption, agree with them. Say, you're right, you are stupid. You know nothing. You are weak. You are weak and impotent. You are morally corrupt. It is true. You are the personification of Augustine's original sin moral monster. And then step back and watch the fireworks. Watch how fast they defend their existence as smart and capable and important and gasp, good. Watch how fast they defend their achievements and abilities and posture and strut and make pretense to being the world shapers and the humble masters of men. Why do you tolerate this? I've been talking for a little over 6 hours. And we've already got a little bit of hate mail about me because I'm arrogant. You won't, 6 hours I've been talking and people won't tolerate it. Yet these men speak with impunity. Why do you appease? So what is the real motive for the doctrines they preach? I'm going to tell you. This is a quote from Ayn Rand. Values are a necessity of any living organism's survival. Life is the process of self-sustaining, self-generated action. And the successful pursuit of values is a precondition of remaining alive. Since nature does not provide man with an automatic knowledge of the code of values he requires, there are differences in the codes which men accept and the goals they pursue. But consider the abstraction value, apart from the particular content of any given code, and ask yourself, what is the nature of a creature in which the sight of a value arouses hatred and the desire to destroy? The answer to her question is simple. All advocates of the reform construct are haters of man as such. They are perpetrators of the most disastrous body of thought ever perpetrated on human existence. And I tell you the truth, no matter their big alligator tears and their bromides to love and their endless cyber hugs and sundry discernment blogs, and the love bombs when the new faces walk through the church doors. No matter the marketing and packaging, these people hold man in contempt. They are lovers of death. They are arch nihilists advocating doctrines that render man a living corpse. And this is who you give tacit approval to, by your silence, by your fear, by your appeasement. But they are coming for you. The goal of all determinists is to rule the world in their own image. And if you don't resist, you will get exactly what you deserve.
That's for voting. And I don't mean that glibly either, I'm just saying that's what, chew on that for a while.
Do we have time? Can I make a comment, or are we
Yeah.
off the air?
Can they hear him from back there? Because
Yes, they can.
the AC kicked on, I wasn't sure.
Obviously, a great job, John, as usual. I just want to make a quick comment. I feel that compelled to, in the interest of my own Argo brand, such as it is. Just with respect to Ayn Rand, I'll make this just brief, and it's just a comment. Anybody that follows John's blog and looks at the comments knows that John and I have some disagreements on the metaphysics. I would just say to be careful about attempting to integrate Ayn Rand's metaphysics, because my contention is that they are still woefully insufficient. Meaning they don't get to the crux of what man is. And I just have a little comment. I would just argue that I appreciate what Ayn Rand does, and I appreciate a lot of her points are exceptional. But I would also offer the fact that there's been such a hodgepodge of results has to do with the insufficiency of metaphysics. Ayn Rand, like almost all philosophers that I can think of, even Aristotle, they still reduce man to a duality in his metaphysic. He's both nature and object, the material and the immaterial. And my contention has always been that until you can reconcile that metaphysical duality into a singularity, into a singular answer of what is man. Man is not an is and it is not, he's an is. Until you can reconcile that duality into the singularity, you have not solved the metaphysical problem. And if you do not solve the metaphysical problem, you ultimately must appeal to subjectivism, which leads to force, which leads to death. I do have serious problems with the fact that Ayn Rand was not only an atheist, but a rabid atheist. She completely misrepresents Christianity across the board. She almost never gets it right, even by Calvinist standards, in terms of how they interpret it. But in defense of my assertions, I'm not going to go into a long diatribe because that would take a while. I would offer three things. The first thing would be I recommend you read Nathaniel Brandon's Judgment Day. And remember that you can't divorce actions from assumptions a person holds unless that person is insane. And of course, if Ayn Rand is insane, you shouldn't listen to anything she has to say anyway. So Judgment Day is an important resource for people to read and to recognize assumptions and behavior go hand in hand. I would also offer the failure of objectivism to stem the tide of collectivism. I mean, it's just, for all of objectivism's good, we're just racing headlong into collectivist Marxism. And the last thing I would say is, would Ayn Rand concede the reality of Jesus' miracles? She wouldn't. She would consider it she would reject them out of hand and considers it mysticism. Of course, my contention is that a proper metaphysic, a metaphysic which reconciles the dualistic nature into a metaphysical singularity, does not preclude miracles in the Christian sense. I would also, and I'll just wrap up with this, if you ask an objectivist where the distinction is between man's body and man's conceptualizing faculty, they can't answer. They know there must be a distinction, but they cannot tell you where. And they cannot tell you how without appealing to, entirely, to abstraction or the body. In other words, what I'm saying is they haven't reconciled the question, what is man? Because fundamentally,